Good morning, everybody. Johan, the Center, and SPF, my special thanks for organizing this session today and for inviting me for sharing some thoughts. It has been quite a few years that we have been working together on the Africa engagement and Africa awareness, and I'm happy to come and see how far our community has grown as people interested in our opportunities in Africa and what else we could do in Africa. Excellency and dear friends, Dr. Biswas, thank you. I think I was aware about 15% of what all India's engagement with Africa is, and that was overwhelming enough because I am going to talk about our engagement and our opportunity from Southeast Asia. What you have said does not make my job difficult because I had a sense of disproportion between these two engagements that exist today. And I'm very happy to have my knowledge being added to by the various other programs that you indicated from India. You have mentioned about India's linkages with Africa for the past 2,000 years. I normally have been focusing on them for 200, 300 years, and that also is a big knowledge. I'll make a simple comparison to start with. I'm not a scholar, so do bear with me in case my talk is more a layman, a more business oriented. That is my work. And just to start with that, I spent more than 2 decades in India. I grew up there, I studied there, I started working in India, and then I reached Africa in early 90s. I joined Olam in Nigeria, and I spent close to 2 decades living and working in Africa. All my life I have worked in the agriculture commodity sector, that is what I know about. But I also have had the good fortune to work here with SPF and with some other institutions and forums in Africa to have a slightly broader exposure, including the sector of healthcare, education in Africa. 2 bits about my company. Olam started in 1989 in Africa, in Nigeria, and is today headquartered in Singapore. Olam is present in 24 countries in Africa, and it works in the field of agriculture commodities. So these two are just to establish a little bit about what is our connection, where do I come from, and why should I be talking a bit about Africa. I've been now living here with my family for close to a decade, and that is my connection to Southeast Asia. Let me also point towards these 3 connections of India, Africa, and Southeast Asia on my personal front to prevent any of my comments being read out of context. I love all the 3 areas. I have a little bit of understanding of all 3, and I share something that could be of use for us. If I take the simple comparisons, Southeast Asia is about 4.4 million square kilometers, and Africa is 30 million square kilometers. We have a population of 625 million people here, and Africa is close to 1 billion people. Our economy size here is about $2.4 trillion, and Africa has an economy in excess of 1.5, it's close to $1.7 trillion. So these are the basics at very macro level. These does not give me any time an opportunity of finding exactly what to do, but it gives me a broad sense of the opportunity in Africa for us. I will comment back on India. Like Dr. Biswas mentioned, India has had its long connections. It has had its people, its diaspora spread across Africa. Not only the expatriates living and working there, I guess there should be at least Indian origin people who are citizens of 10 African countries today. So we know the East African countries, there is South Africa, there is Mauritius, there should be 10 countries having Indian origin people as citizens today. So long cultural and soft connections. Besides that, India has been very different in its global ambitions compared to Southeast Asia. The African votes and the UN have been very critical for India, and that has driven some of India's engagements. And no wonder all these billions of dollars that India commits and puts in place, it adds to India's stature and familiarity of Africa with India. By comparison, can I say that Africa is very aware of Southeast Asia? Not really, not from my direct experience. I lived across 6 countries and I have traveled across all the 24 countries that Olam does business in Africa. India, China, Europe, US are really top of mind for the African businessman, for the African citizen. Southeast Asia, there is an awareness. There is a Singapore, there is a Malaysia, there is Indonesia, but we don't come top of mind. Recall is not for our region. So that is a gap that we have to bridge while we start working towards Africa. Do we at Southeast Asia really focus towards Africa? Not really. Southeast Asia has been really focusing on its own neighborhood. A lot of these economies and the businesses have been focusing on the opportunities, the business opportunities and the cultural opportunities here. I would assume less than 20% of the Southeast Asian corporate focus is outside of the region, and that goes into traditional areas of East Asia, Europe, US. What I have been discussing in Singapore Business Federation forums has been that we need diversification of our economy and our corporate interests. So we need Africa as a diversification opportunity for us. I will not try to make a case which India, China, Europe have been making for many years for themselves. One, as a political support. Two, as source of commodities and raw materials. Southeast Asia, by comparison to these other larger economies, is self-sufficient. Not only self-sufficient in material, but also in opportunities. When we want some more excitement, when we want real developing country opportunity, we look at Myanmar, we look at Laos, we look at Cambodia, and we have enough people and enough closeness, physical, geographical closeness to those areas to feel comfortable going over there and taking risk on our business ventures. If I were to come and suggest that we need to go and set up a project in Chad, and you start looking at how do you reach there. So to go to Chad, most likely you will take a flight to France and from there go to Jamina. Doesn't seem worth it. On top of that, for 10% diversification. So we will have to look at the usual hubs. The financial hubs in Africa will be Mauritius, fast going down in relative importance. There is South Africa, there is Morocco and Kenya. These are the 4 hubs I would suggest for us to look at from Southeast Asian point of view. In the 30 million square kilometers of land in Africa, there are 54 countries, 42 currencies, and 21 stock exchanges. Really, the one significant over there is Johannesburg Stock Exchange, which is about the size or bigger than the SGX, the STI. So we do have these opportunities of talking commercials of when I talk to Africa, do I talk US dollar, do I talk euro? There are 42 local currencies we will have to deal with. We will have to really pick up which of the 54 countries I want to focus on. What do I really bring over there? A big comfort for somebody from India, let us say, would be that 2,000-year-old connection. The familiarity as you grow up, you have heard about somebody somewhere having been to Africa, doing business in Africa. We don't have that. Indian youngsters, entrepreneurs and young managers would be growing up hearing about the government policies that Dr. Biswas presented, billions of dollars committed over there, and some of the project managers will be able to convince their corporates to sign those $10 billion deals that at some time Sunil Bharti Mittal signed. So we don't have that. We are going to operate with the gap in that opportunity of the policy level commitments to Africa, as well as very large corporate sector. However, what we have committed to Africa, let me just go through that a bit. I have a list of some of the companies. This is not exhaustive, but I have a list of some of the companies who are familiar with Africa. Some of them came from Africa like Olam, but are now based here, have got a credible base here and are working still towards Africa. I have Olam, Tolaram, Wilmar, We have Vega Foods. We have Chandariyas. The family came from Kenya, of Indian origin, came from Kenya, but I have a base here and are very familiar with Africa. GMT, a Singapore company who went to South Africa to set up because that is the only place they could get the luxury watch license. Azul, our port logistics people, who sold their business but ultimately set up a base in Rwanda, set up a poultry business in Rwanda. We have Temasek itself. It is in partnership with the Oppenheimer Fund, and close to $300 million of its funds are focused towards Africa. We have Pavilion Energy. I'm sure they were very happy 3-4 years ago when they signed up that deal in Tanzania, and all the oil and gas sector is going through troubled times, so they would be reflecting on their commitments. But that's part of business. A very, very large deal signed over there. They also have looked at Nigeria. I think they had made some commitments there. We have PIL, our shipping company from Singapore, which has been servicing Africa for many, many years now. We have Meva, which is an edible oil refining business, which has been servicing Africa. We have Able Perfect, a Singapore owner based out of Malaysia and having some partnerships in Togo. We have Kenkeng, the used car users providers. From Malaysia, we have Sime Darby, more than 2 decades of assets in Africa. Felda, KLK, who recently bought assets in Liberia. RH was, I knew them as a timber group in Gabon more than 2 decades ago. BSG, RFM, these are timber companies in Gabon. From Indonesia, we have got the Bakri Group, we have got Salim, and we have got Golden Agri. So these names I give just to give the confidence to our SPF community that we have a score of companies, large names that we are familiar with, present on ground. We should be building on their experience. We won't get to know their real experience, but at least that name is there, I can also go. So that has been the familiar route taken by many of the Indian businessmen. Parts of India are differentially familiar with Africa. The Gujaratis have been for long familiar with Africa. There are villages that have got many families who have base in Africa. And the typical route has been, yes, my neighbor has been there, let me also go. So that is a sense that we have to develop over here, that we have Southeast Asian companies, Southeast Asian people with experience in Africa. Let me also see what else can I do over there. There is a bit about the climate also. When I look at Africans, where would they like to travel to? Apart from where business takes them, they would like to travel to China and Dubai for business. They would travel to Europe, usual. It's a developed part of the world and the climate is very different. Our climate is, large parts of Africa has similar climates to us. Nobody is going to come and visit us just for our climate. They would visit us once they slowly understand us. Let me look at what do we need? What could Africans look at? There is a small part that African community forgets, that they are also large and they are investors. I was checking the list of billionaires in Africa. There were more than 20 in the last Forbes list that I have seen. People have made money through their corporates. When you are at that scale, you are looking for diversification for them yourself. And it is not so easy for an African to invest in Europe and US, because while they are traditional markets, the returns from those markets for any outside investor is terrible. You sit in Africa, you are used to 5% growth rates and 5% and more returns. You can't put your money in Europe with less than 1% growth rate, and US, which sometimes doesn't know it is stalling or it is growing. It needs to be familiar with Southeast Asia, which has been not as fast growing as Africa, but still is fairly diverse and a growing part of the world. We need investors here. We have got capital markets where they can invest in. We have got capital markets structured in a manner that they can choose to invest in our real estate. They can choose to invest in our industries. We are not energy sufficient, so we need to buy our energy. Like Dr. Biswas mentioned, 20% of India's energy supplies now come from Africa. We can also buy, Africa can also supply energy to us. We have got education infrastructure which is used to catering to other communities, and that infrastructure can address the African need for education and training. We have medical infrastructure, and we receive people from the globe utilizing our infrastructure for their requirements. Africans can fulfill some of that demand that is created in this local market. We have financial platforms which are very well developed, which should be easy and familiar for the African markets now. What sectors could we focus on from Southeast Asia? First is this sector of the Chamber of Commerce. We need to create awareness in our community, and like the chamber over here, the Singapore Business Federation has been working with its own community for more than 5 years that I have known. We need the various other chambers and institutions and associations to be creating Africa awareness. All this I'm talking with the background that we are not going to see the kind of commitment that we see from India, China, policymakers at that level to Africa. We are not going to see that from Southeast Asia, and we are not likely to see the equivalent corporate level commitments also from here. So that is why I start with the Chamber of Commerce and say that there's a lot of work we have to start from here. We have opportunities in construction. Southeast Asia is used to construction at a variety of levels. In Singapore, the high-end level, equally at the low-end level, and the requirements in rural areas, including in Cambodia, Myanmar. All that range of opportunity lies in Africa. We have to find opportunities for our construction sector in Africa. Infrastructure, Southeast Asia has enough capability in building infrastructure, and Africa is seriously infrastructure deficit. There are PPP opportunities over there, and our infrastructure operators need to find the way of finding their investment opportunities in Africa. Transport, Dr. Biswas mentioned railways. Even if we don't look at railways, we look at road transport, air transport, marine transport, Africa has huge opportunities over there, huge gap in its current requirements. Hospitality, Southeast Asia is very well advanced in hospitality sector at all levels, right from restaurants, food courts, hotels, resorts, and we have something to offer for this sector as opportunities in Africa. Education and training, we don't only need the students to come here, we can set up schools and colleges and institutes over there. Food processing, agriculture, we don't realize how advanced we are in agriculture. The first time Olam wanted to set up a rice farm, while we committed in Nigeria, we had started in Mozambique. And there was a Singapore company that had helped us identify which strains of rice should we use over there. They experimented with 60 strains of rice, and then they gave us a bouquet of 6 and said we should use these for the Mozambican opportunity. I was very happy that we found a Singapore company to be helping us on that choice. Retail sector, water solutions, so we have HyFlux over here. We have urban and city planning, and later we'll be listening to Mr. Louis Day. Small machine tools, which is a huge sector and requirement for Africa, and so much of it is serviced only by imports. We can actually do processing and production on ground over there. We see a lot of institutions coming up. We see private interest also. We have seen interest something like Kalahari. We have seen Triox. These are individuals, Africans who got familiar with, got an opportunity in Singapore and set up their own small boutique shops to familiarize the Southeast Asian community with African opportunities. We need funds to come in. Funds, when I say, these are people who source their funds from diverse locations but can be Africa focused. We don't have enough funds that are Africa focused sitting in Southeast Asia. We need banks, we need our banks to have direct linkages to Africa, and that is a big gap to be filled right now. We need our legal services. Last time there was a talk organized by SPF. So we need the legal services to be able to say that yes, we are familiar with the legal and corporate environment in Africa. These are some of the thoughts that I leave. What I do leave over here as a message is that yes, Southeast Asia and Africa have some connections and we are familiar, but neither is Africa the biggest partner of Southeast Asia and nor the other ways. We have large corporates who have committed billions of dollars by now from Southeast Asia to Africa, and that journey has to continue. We need to find far more SMEs. We need to find a pathway of taking SMEs to find their opportunities in Africa. We need to create opportunities for our students to do internships there, for our doctors to be able to go on their medical missions. They normally go to Cambodia, Myanmar. They should be able to have the exposure to African communities and societies. I'm sure it will add to our experience, our knowledge, and create future opportunities from there. I will close my talk here. Thank you.